Hey there, Anup. Andrew here once again, ready to correct your next essay. So what this essay asks us to do is to consider the advantages and disadvantages of travel, both international and domestic. Now, the advantages of travelling, you've gotten a good response here. The benefit as a leisure activity to reduce stress. And I think you've fully explored it, which is good. But the disadvantages of travel, I would rather people speak about things like pollution. So the heavy environmental cost of people moving around all the time. So in terms of task response, the stress of travel is a disadvantage, but it would be much easier to talk about something that was concrete, like pollution. But let's move through and have a look at, generally speaking, your grammar and such. So here I would just use, many people would argue that travelling frequently is beneficial, be it locally or overseas. So if you want to use while, here what we should do is remove this. While I agree with this debate partially, you can't agree with the debate, because a debate by its nature contains more than one argument. While I agree with this opinion partially, I largely disagree about the overall incentives. Do you mean benefits? I would say here, while I agree with this opinion partially, I believe that travel has numerous disadvantages. But what I would have done in this introduction is actually said something along the lines of travelling is becoming ever more popular, both domestic and international. This essay will discuss both the advantages and disadvantages of travelling internationally, or even this essay shall discuss the advantages, such as relaxation and leisure, of travelling, while also bearing in mind its disadvantages, such as stress and pollution. So then we would have responded to the question, as well as stated our opinion and briefly outlined the ideas that we would use in our essay, which is the 3 things that we're required to do in our introduction. So touring across the country or overseas is a leisure activity for people who wish to experience something outside of their routine. And I wouldn't use this, I would just say something outside of their routine. It rejuvenates their minds and opens them up to new places. It's not necessarily of natural beauty. It could be a range of places. It could be cities. Cities aren't naturally beautiful. Trips to new countries give them the opportunity to understand other cultures and relate to their history. Yes. This can also become a hobby of people who have time and money for new experiences, as per the 2016 Travel Bureau Journal and Qantas Insider magazine. It also states that every hard-working, like this, individual is strongly recommended to take at least a week of break annually from their busy... I would actually change this to a week's break. Take at least a week's break annually from their busy lifestyle for travel experience. I agree that such a trip improves quality of life, but here I would do it like that. On the other hand, travelling nationally or overseas requires meticulous planning. If a person wants a great experience. Low pricing. So if a person wants a great experience, low pricing, and to see all they can while on their trips. From my experience, it is particularly important for people with little children and kids. Aren't they the same thing? Also, kids is too informal for academic writing, so we'll take that away. Since travel can be stressful, and many people come back home more tired than they anticipated. And since travel can be stressful, and many people come back home more tired than they anticipated during the travel planning. This is particularly true in cases of local road trips. The majority of. Don't say everybody, because it's almost certainly not true. On weekends and during holiday time. Touring can be disadvantageous for youngsters who are focused on their careers. Single S there. I would say here I'm not quite sure how this follows. Touring can be disadvantageous for youngsters who are focused on their careers. Let's say with strict schedules, actually. And we can say often with strict schedules, like that. I cannot afford free time for these leisure activities. Do you mean and must avoid once-in-a-lifetime opportunities? This should be like this, though. Once in our lifetime. Yeah, I can't quite grasp the meaning of this sentence, so I'll leave that one up to you. In conclusion, though I agree to some extent that annual travelling is somewhat advantageous for rest and relaxation, it should just be like this, because you've used though I. Though I agree, I largely disagree. So you could say, in conclusion, I agree to some extent, yet I largely disagree with the thought that frequent travelling I would take that away. Yet I largely disagree with the thought that frequent travelling is a necessity for a successful life. Of course, but we need to make sure that we include every part of the question in this. So when we do a conclusion, you've actually stated the advantages here, which is great. But we also need to know the disadvantages. So we're trying to summarize all of the ideas that we would use, that we have used. So in the thesis statement, the introduction, we introduce our ideas, we then discuss them fully, and then we summarize them. And this is what it means to have a consistent essay with a good flow. But you have supported your ideas with examples in this one, but not so much in this one. But also, this goes on to talk about the people who cannot travel regularly, rather than talking about the disadvantages of travel itself. So here, this is fine, I quite like this. But here what we should have done is discussed the literal disadvantages of travel. I would have liked to have seen maybe a discussion on pollution, like I said, or even having to take time off work, having financial consequences and consequences for productivity. That would have been good. But let's move on to your letter. So, hi Amir, good to see your email. I had recently moved to Sydney after my previous job in South Korea ended. I've started working as a research engineer in the imaging informatics domain with Alfred Hospital in the heart of the city. Good. As you may have seen in the pictures, Korea was a beautiful country and work at Samsung had good benefits. Don't use conjunctions at the starts of sentences. But having lived there for 3 years, we as a family decided to move to an English-speaking country where my skills were at best use. I would say where my skills were best used. Where my skills were best used, and I could have access to better career growth. My new workplace has an exciting team of researchers and faculty with stimulating journal clubs. My work includes developing and expanding collaborative neuroimaging projects. I think this is one word, yeah. Within the centre, no capital. As an engineer, I have the opportunity to work on project design and analysis pipelines for various groups, with great potential to develop new ideas into papers and patents with industry collaborations within the institution. Good, but I think this is a bit long. I would say I'm going to leave it, actually. It's okay. As an engineer, I have the opportunity to work on project design and analysis. Of pipelines? Are you talking about actual oil pipelines? It depends on your meaning in this sentence. Overall, it's fine. But if you're talking about, because we have a couple, like the literal meaning of pipeline is, to carry a flow of water or a flow of oil. But what we also use it in a metaphorical sense in the office. So we might say that we have an idea in the pipeline, which means something's brewing, something's becoming ready. So I'm not quite sure which one you mean. Last year, my family was blessed with its first baby. It was an exciting life experience, I would say. I'm not sure about this, one sec. I would say here it would be better to say something like, and I'm grateful that my parents were around to support us in Korea. Yash is growing up fast. I'm attaching a couple of his latest photos. Hope you and Dia are doing well. I would like to invite you guys to visit us next time you are visiting Australia. Best wishes, Anup. Cool. Overall, we're good. We are good. So pay close attention to the minor corrections, the small things. Making repeated mistakes in the exam can cost you quite a number of points. So try to pay really close attention to those grammatical mistakes so that we can correct them over time. I'm sure I've recommended it to you before, but it's good to read as many formal academic English writings as you can. If you read something every day, your brain will be able to spot the patterns of grammar and adopt them more easily in the future. But all the best, Anup. I'll send these over to you now. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon.